In this video, we're going to go over what is the difference between a DJ and a producer. So this question gets asked a lot by people looking to get into the scene, or maybe those that haven't been exposed to it too much. So a lot of the artists you see will be a little bit of both. So let's distinguish. So a DJ is someone that goes out and using decks and a mixer will perform tracks to an audience. So whether that's their own music or music they've created, they are there on a stage performing to an audience. And they don't necessarily need to have created their own tracks. A lot of DJs that are starting out won't have created their own music yet, but that's what a producer is. A producer is someone that spends time in their studio, away from the decks, with software, normally, or hardware, and create music. So they create their own unique music. And that's what a producer is. So in a sense, a solo artist, maybe, who plays guitar and sings, could be considered a producer. But normally it's saved for someone in the electronic world that creates music in a studio by themselves, generally using software and various keyboards, synths, various bits of equipment really that create sound. And then there's a lot of crossover, so a lot of DJs will also be producers. A lot of the most famous DJs at the moment, Skrillex, Zed, are all producers as well. And that's really how they ascended to superstardom, is they would have already been DJing and had skills as a DJ, but it was when they released their own tracks that they exploded, and that got shared online, and then they got booked for more and more DJ gigs off the back of producing their own music. Are there DJs that don't produce? Yes, but they're very rare, and even more rare these days than they used to be. For example, a dubstep producer, N-Type, was a lot more famous for DJing, although he then later went on to produce music as well. But he got famous through his DJing first. So that happens a lot, that DJs either get some exposure or some success, and then just from the people they're around, being in that industry, they start to learn bits of producing, or they might work with someone else to begin with so that they learn from them. But most DJs get into producing at some point because it's the next logical step. And besides, there is a vast difference between playing someone else's tracks. Yes, you can be excited about it, and yes, you can enjoy playing other people's music. But when you're playing your own, it really gives you that added excitement, basically, because you're sharing something that you created. And plus, you have a deeper understanding of the music. So one of the best amateur DJs I ever saw had created basically an album and a half, so about 15 tracks in total. And he recorded an hour mix for my radio show, and he did it all live. And his remixes, or his mixing of his tracks, was just spot on, because he knew exactly what had gone into creating those tracks. He knew exactly what was coming up next. So when it came to blending them and creating a mix, it was just absolutely seamless. And he was able to select all the best parts of his tracks, and it was just a great hour mix. So there is definitely a difference between playing other people's music and playing your own. Now, one caveat or one crossover is live acts, or live electronic acts. So these can be a bit of both. So let's use Chase and Status as examples. They have got famous from being DJs and producers, so they released some albums that just went global, just were absolute smash hits. And then they translated that into a live setting. So what then is the difference between a DJ, a live act, and a producer? And in that case, not an awful lot, because they were all of those things. They would also do different shows based on where they were in the world and the setup that was available, or what the promoter was willing to pay to bring them. They would do some DJ shows just with decks and mixers, or they would take their band and they would do live shows. So in this case, they will have produced tracks first, and then they kind of worked backwards. So they got a band together and they worked out how they could split up their tracks to turn it into a live show, basically. So there is a bit of difference there. There is a band called the Bays, that they are a live band, but they create electronic music. So there's a drummer, there's a bassist, and then there's a guy on synths and electronics. And what's interesting about them is they never record, they never rehearse. They just go on stage and they improvise. So the thing with them is, yes, they're a live act, but then they're also creating music from scratch, which means they're also a producer. So I suppose perhaps the grey area there is, because they don't record, are they actually producing? Maybe what they should do is record their live shows and release that as an album, and then technically they would have been producing in front of an audience. And to be honest, there's not many people that do that. So there is a big distinction between DJs and producers. It really comes down to, are they performing their own music or creating their own music, in which case they are a producer if they are creating their own music, or if they only ever go out and play other people's music, then they are a DJ only. If you want to read more about this, then go to bestdjsetup.com, producer DJs, and you'll just see everything broken down with a few other questions answered there as well. So in the comments below, let me know if I've missed anything out. Thanks for watching.